Doing check into the stream. I hope you guys are having a fantastic evening here on Friday, July 1st, 2022. I am your host, Andy Mercado from Mercado Media, independent journalist, U.S. Army veteran, covering the war in Ukraine. Day 128 of coverage here of the war. Check in, comment where you guys are tuning in from. We got Birmingham, England tuned in. Let me know what city, what state, or where in the world, what country or what city within your country you guys are tuned in from. Thank you guys so much. We're live here on Facebook and YouTube tonight, so thank you guys so much for choosing Mercado Media, for tuning in. Thank you so much to all of our members, all of our supporters. And actually, I'm gonna do something here. No one's tested it yet, and I'm gonna be the one to test it. But if you're on YouTube right now, I'm gonna gift 20 subs, and I think it just goes randomly. But I want to try this, and I haven't seen anyone test it yet. But I'm gonna do 20 subs here to see how this goes into the YouTube chat. All right, did a thing. There we go. Did it. We're cut. Snack Squad TV. Let's go. All right, so gifted 20 memberships. There we go. Matt, MJ Katz got one. Helen got one. Livonia got one. Ed, you're a member now. Jan Marie, you're a member now. Diane, you're a member now. Let's go. It works. It's random. Completely random. Matthew, you're a member now. Lionel, there we go. So YouTube membership gifting does work. And I just tested it. I bought 20 of them. There's different options on there. If you're on the computer, there's a 5, a 10, a 20, and a 50 option. And it goes to random users in the chat. A complete random. Probably those that have been participating the longest, likely. So there you go. Sent out a whole bunch of gifts. I don't know, it goes random. They're trying to keep up with Twitch on that note. So there you go. I wanted to test it out, and it does work. That's pretty cool. Thank you so much, Todd, for those 200 stars on Facebook. Shout out to our Facebook audience. Thank you to everybody that uses stars and super chats and super stickers, and those that are supporters and those that were members before I just did the membership purchase, whatever. It went out to 20 randoms. Can I get a man pad? I wish I could give out man pads. All right, so let's get into it here on July 1st, 2022. Shout out to all of the new members on the channel. Just want to read out the latest update in the world, and we do include a mini world news update in every single coverage in the description of the video. So if you guys want to follow along here, let me pull it up. Follow along in the description of our stream. July 1st mini world news update. President Joe Biden told Democratic governors Friday that he is looking at all the alternatives for protecting abortion access following the Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. One day after returning from international summits in Europe, Biden described the ruling as, quote, tragic, and warned that Republicans could try to enact a nationwide ban on abortion if they retake control of Congress. He urged Democrats to elect at least 2 more senators so they could create an exception to the filibuster and codify in law protections that had been provided under Roe v. Wade. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has appealed against the UK's government's decision last month to order his extradition to the United States. The appeal was filed Friday at the High Court, and the latest twist in a decade-long legal saga sparked by his website's publication of the classified U.S. documents. No further details about the appeal were immediately available. American basketball star Brittany Griner went on trial Friday, 4.5 months after her arrest on charges of possessing cannabis oil while returning to play for a Russian team. In a case that has unfolded amid tense relations between Moscow and Washington, the initial session of the trial, which was adjourned until July 7th, offered the most extensive public interaction between Griner and reporters since the Phoenix Mercury star and 2-time U.S. Olympic gold medalist was arrested in February at Moscow's Sheremetyevo International Airport. So an update on Brittany Griner. Monkeypox is continuously reaching new parts of Europe, where the number of new cases has tripled since June 15th to more than 4,500 laboratory confirmed cases. So we got monkeypox on the rise in the United States. Also today, if you live in the state of Minnesota, this wasn't included in our description, but THC edibles and beverages have become legal across the state for those 21 years of age or older. Products may contain 5 milligrams per serving and 50 milligrams per package, about half the amount found in recreational edibles legalized in other states. It has been reported that the Republican politicians in the state of Minnesota were not aware that the bill they had passed had the THC edibles in it. So our Senate is notoriously known for shooting down any marijuana legalization within the state of Minnesota, and the fact that they didn't read a certain part of the bill that included THC edibles in it and THC beverages, it was passed. So, quote, Republican Senator Jim Abler, who chairs the Minnesota Senate Human Services Reform Committee, tells me he did not realize the new Minnesota law allowing THC edibles would do just that. He thought it would just regulate Delta 8 THC products, said the legislature should roll the new law back. And that's what's going on. So he thinks they should roll the law back. They snuck one in on him. But keep in mind, though, this THC law, this new THC release in Minnesota for these edibles, they're mid-grade. It's some Reggie. You gotta eat like half the pack. You gotta eat like 2 packs to feel something. It's like I wrote a post earlier. It's similar to like our 3.2 beer we have here in Minnesota. Like it'll take you a few extra. You can pick it up at the gas station or at any tobacco shop that carries it. Other thing too is this actually makes Delta 8 weaker. Like Delta 8, and it regulates Delta 8 and Delta 9, which is available. Listen, all these extra steps when they could just legalize weed. Talking about all these molecules, different molecules of weed and garbage. I don't know why they just don't legalize it. They're playing around in the state of Minnesota, but they got it really just it makes the already available Delta 8 and Delta 9 weaker, because now they actually are regulated, because the Delta 8 and Delta 9 were actually legal and available, and they actually provided some some high effects, if you will, some psychotropic effects. That's what people are looking for when they want their weed. They want the psychotropic effects as well as like the chilling and like whatever. And so those Delta 8 and Delta 9 had that, and they were offering it at like 25 milligrams, and now they actually have to reduce their milligrams, their outputs. Now they have to be 5 milligrams. So if you were buying Delta 8 and Delta 9 in Minnesota, it's probably going to be weaker stuff. And well, the hemp THC cannabis products are now available. So we got Reggie's available in Minnesota. That's all you guys can pick it up at the store with your beer and with your 3.2 beer at the gas station at the Quick Trip. I'm trying to find some. There's some available at different weed shops around. Not all places have it right now in Minnesota, but I'll do a report on the edible situation in Minnesota and let you guys know how that is all going when I can. So that's going on in Minnesota. Now let's get into Ukraine here on July 1st, 2022. And what we do here on this stream is I go into the map breakdown first and show you guys territory changes, and it's a per 24-hour stream, so it's everything within the last 24 hours. Any changes that have been made to the map, any territory gains or losses from Russia, from Ukraine with their counteroffensives. I draw on the map and draw arrows, and I circle. I highlight cities that are talked about so you know where they're at. Terrain features, map features. It's really important during a war or in anything really to know your geography as well. A lot of propaganda and a lot of misinformation relies heavily on this. The success of misinformation relies on you not knowing where shit is. Like if you don't know where something is and you don't know what's going on, I could tell you anything. I could tell you whatever I wanted to, because you have no idea where it is, and you're probably not going to look it up either, all right? And the people that put propaganda out know that. They know you're not going to look it up. So at the beginning of this stream, we go heavily into the map changes and key features or anything that's changed on the ground, and I draw, and that'll happen. And I also go into the details of the war. And then after that takes about an hour, and then after that, we go into video clips and any of the new combat footage that has come out from the war in the last 24 24 hours, any new news clips or news articles or anything that's come out in the last 24 hours that I didn't cover yesterday that is new today. We cover that after the map section. So without further ado, let's get into it here. And I need to pull this up. There it is. So this is the map of Ukraine, right? Terrain map features. You got the red on the map, which is assessed Russian advance within Ukraine. You got two different areas that have a dark black line on the map. And those two areas have been occupied by Russia since 2014. So in the green, that would be here. And that would be here. Okay? This region over here is called the Donbass. Donbass. Okay, this is the Donbass. Down here, this area, this peninsula is called Crimea. Okay, the Crimean Peninsula. That's been, these two places have been, well, Crimea has been annexed since 2014. The Donbass have been led by separatist leaders and separatist militias since 2014. Vladimir Putin deemed their independence before the invasion, but they're not officially annexed yet, all right? And then let's do a different color. And then these, let's do like a lighter blue. These regions have been occupied since Russian forces invaded in the 24th of February. So these are areas the Russians have held on to since the invasion. Other areas that the Russians used to hold, and I'll highlight that in darker blue because it's now in Ukraine control. But the Russians were up here. They were around Kyiv. They were all up in here too. The Russians are all up in here. I usually do it. I should do it red. I just don't want you to get confused and think it's in Russian control. Here, I'll just do like little red lines. This is where they used to be. And then the Ukrainians pushed them back. And now this is under Ukrainian control. And they pushed them all back to the east. There's no Russians up here at all. Okay? If you're wondering, if you haven't tuned in a while and you're wondering why there isn't any red to the north of the country, north of the capital, which the capital of Ukraine is Kyiv. That is here. That's the capital of Ukraine. The Ukrainians have pushed the Russians to the east and pushed them heavily to the east, and we'll talk about that here because there's multiple fronts and multiple things going on in the southern axes and to the east of Ukraine. And we do here on Mercado Media try to cover all of the successes that are going on, whether it's Russian successes or Ukrainian successes. Straight out the gate, I'm letting you know right now, I am supportive of Ukraine and their fight for independence. I am not for Russia's invasion of Ukraine at all. I'm fully aware of all of the propagandized narratives that Russia's tried to use to justify their invasion, and I'm not with it at all. That being said, I still have an obligation to tell you of the Russian successes as well, okay? I don't leave those out because if I don't tell you about the Russian successes, you could get a false hope sometimes because it's different days, different things happen on day-to-day basis. The Ukrainians could have a strong day of success and the Russians could have a strong day of success. And just because I'm reporting, what's going on doesn't mean I'm pro or against something, all right? I'm just letting you know what's happening so you can get a full picture of what's going on in the war. Because there's multiple fronts here, okay? So let's get into it. Let's get into it here. We're going to start with eastern Ukraine and the Donbass, and then we'll go from the eastern Ukraine up into the northeast in the Kharkiv Oblast, and then we'll go down in the southern axes in Ukraine as well, all right? Hit that like button if you guys could. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel here on Mercado Media, and thank you guys so much for choosing independent media as your choice. For the war in Ukraine, the Kremlin is likely setting conditions for crypto mobilization of the Russian economy, of course, in preparation for a protracted war in Ukraine. The Kremlin proposed an amendment to federal laws on Russian armed forces supply matters to the Russian State Duma on June 30th that would introduce special measures in the economic sphere, obliging Russian businesses, regardless of ownership, to supply Russian special military and counter-terrorist operations. The amendment would prohibit Russian businesses from refusing to accept state orders for special military operations and allow the Kremlin to change employee contracts and work conditions, such as forcing workers to work during the night or federal holidays. The Kremlin noted in the amendment's description that the ongoing special military operation in Ukraine exposed supply shortages, specifically materials needed to repair military equipment, and stated that Russian officials need to concentrate their efforts in certain sectors of the economy. Russian President Vladimir Putin is likely mobilizing the Russian economy and industry to sustain the ongoing war effort, but has not yet taken parallel measures to mobilize the Russian manpower on a larger scale to fully control these cities. It's like they got their left foot in and their right foot out and their right hand in, and they're doing the hokey pokey on these cities. They don't have a clear goal or a clear annexation plan for any of these cities. And Russia, if you're looking in the Russian terms, they're running out of time in Kirsten because the Ukrainians are 10 to 15 kilometers away from the Russians in the southern axes, and this doesn't get reported on as much. A lot of the focus is on the east for many reasons, because that's where the Russian successes are. That will drive more attention, because then you can say, the Russians are winning. Look at, they're winning. And yes, they are to the east, but in the south, the Ukrainians are having success, and into the northeast. So this forced Russification that's been going on in Kirsten, maybe I need to make them a little bigger. But here's, I'll zoom in. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth, but just to give you an example, the Ukrainians, their counteroffensives have been successful as of late, not every single day, but lately more so than not. Here's Mykolaiv, and then the city of Kirsten, which is referenced frequently. Here's Kirsten, and then it's the blue within that. I forgot to tell you guys about the terrain features. The blue on the map with the slashes in it is partisan warfare. So you got resistance fighting going on, protests, people pushing back against the Russian occupation. Okay, that's the blue with the lines through it. And then the light blue in general, which is, I'm trying to keep the colors aligned. The light blue on the map is claimed Ukrainian counteroffensive. So this was area that the Russians once held, and now the Ukrainians hold it, and they have pushed the Russians back, and they hold that territory now. So in the southern axes, the Russians have had to, wrong color arrow. The Russians have actually had to pause their Russification attempts in Kirsten specifically because of how effective the Ukrainian counteroffensives have been. They're very close to Kirsten. They're getting very close to the city. So the Russians have had to go from, okay, we're taking over this city, we're taking over the government. We got to implement a pay system. We got to implement public works and all this, which they aren't even really doing that, right? They did a half-assed job in Mariupol when they seized Mariupol and took that over. Did a half-assed job getting that up and going. But the little amount of effort that they've had to do that, to establish a society within these cities that they're taking, they've had to refocus those efforts in Kirsten and actually go on the defense here because of how close the Ukrainian counteroffensives are. So in Kirsten, at least, they've had to pause most of those efforts, those Russification efforts within that city. And if the Ukrainian counteroffensives can continue in Zaparizia, that could threaten Berdyansk and Mariupol. There's lots of partisan warfare going on in Melitopol. And again, the southern axis doesn't get reported on as much. It did today because of a strike in Odessa, which we'll talk about as well, in the city of Odessa. But majority of the combat reports are coming out of the east in the Donbass, which is the Russians are gaining territory on a daily basis here. So as much as they're gaining territory in the east and they're gaining more and more territory here, two things. One, they've put all of their forces here. They've moved all of their forces away from the southern axes and the northeastern axes. So the Russians have done this. So this is why they're having such success. If you're like, why are the Russians doing so well over here? Well, all of their forces from in here, they've already moved along this highway into the Donbass, into reinforce their ground lines of communication and their supply lines and their multiple launch rocket system trucks. All of their capabilities they've rerouted from here to here. That's why the Ukrainians are having success. Similar to here, they've rerouted almost their big equipment, their best units from over, and they were all the way up in Sumy. The Russians were all the way up here, but they moved even further in the northeastern front, but they moved all of their shit here. The Russians moved all of their big units, their Rosgavirda, the Wagner private military group is in they were in Popasna, and they're branching away from there. That's their best private military group. Even the Chechens, the TikTok armies in that region too. They're no longer in Mariupol because they seized Mariupol. Now they're up in that region. They're north of Luhansk. They're trying to finish that. They're trying to close the whole region off. So Russia's moved all of their stuff here. That is why they've had the successes in the southern axes, and in the northeastern axes, the Ukrainians are having successes. They moved their stuff away from there. They've moved it. All right, they're a little bit more vulnerable. The Russian military is more vulnerable here in the south and the northeast, whereas the Ukrainian military is more vulnerable here in the east, in the east, because Russia's put all their stuff here. All right. Russian authorities are likely taking measures to integrate the Zaparizia nuclear power plant directly into the Russian energy system, contradicting previous Russian statements that the Zaparizia NPP would sell directly into Ukraine. Christine Brantley, thank you so much for that $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much for that. Also, if you guys hang out in the stream, I did gift 20 subs to random viewers. I will gift another 20 at the end of this stream. All right, you gotta be in the stream though, and you gotta be chatting. You gotta be engaged. That's how it works, and it's random, but you gotta be engaging in it. All right, if you hang out in the stream, I'll gift 20 more at the end. Olga Kosharna, an independent expert on nuclear energy, stated on June 30th that Russia's Rosatom, Russian state-owned nuclear energy corporation, employees have been taking measures at the Zaparizhzhia nuclear power plant to potentially divert its energy to the Russian energy grid. Kosharna added that Russian forces have been working in Konhard, which is in the southern Kirsten Oblast, to repair main energy transmission line that runs into Crimea, which Ukrainian forces had destroyed in 2015 following Russia's seizure of the transmission line after the annexation of Crimea in 2014. That's not the only key infrastructure that Ukraine destroyed in 2015. The water supply to Crimea, the Ukrainians destroyed as well, after the Russians annexed and seized Crimea. Representative of Ukraine's Ukregro electricity transmission operator had stated that as recently as late May that it would be physically impossible for Russia to divert Ukrainian electricity to Russia following the destruction of those transmission lines. Russian forces are likely seeking to ensure physical access to transmission lines in order to support the direct flow of Ukrainian energy into Russia, which may explain some of the military activities observed in recent weeks in the Russian-occupied portions of the Zaparizhzhia Oblast. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Russian authorities had indicated on May 18th that while the Zaparizhzhia NPP would work for Russia, it would continue to sell energy to Ukraine. However, it is becoming increasingly evident that Russian authorities are taking measures to integrate Ukrainian economic assets directly into the Russian economy. Reports that Russian forces may be preparing a false flag provocation at the Zaparizhzhia NPP could be part of this Russian effort. Moscow might use such a false flag attack to accuse Ukrainian authorities of mismanaging nuclear assets and justifying taking full control of them and their output. We got the Eagles Rage with a $5 super chat, and it says, "Thank you for your continuous coverage. Been here off and on since day one." Thank you, Eagles, for that super chat. And then Sinan with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Key takeaways: Russian forces continued efforts to encircle Lysychansk and conducted offensive operations to the south and southwest of the city. And in each of these individual fronts, I will go into them and we'll draw, okay? Russian forces have likely not yet reached the T-1302 Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway on the ground, but are denying Ukrainian forces use of it by continuing artillery strikes against remaining Ukrainian positions along the road. Russian forces focused on regrouping and improving their tactical positions north of Sloviansk. Russian forces did not conduct any confirmed ground assaults in northern Kharkiv Oblast and continued shelling Ukrainian positions north of Kharkiv city. Russian forces conducted artillery and missile strikes along the southern axes. Russian authorities continue efforts to expand the pool of recruits available to fight within Ukraine. Thank you so much, Kathy, for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, everybody, for all of your support on this Friday night. Thank you guys so much. So now we'll get into it. The main effort is still Eastern Ukraine, comprised of one subordinate and three supporting efforts. Subordinate main effort is the encirclement of Ukrainian troops in the cauldron between Izium and Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. Supporting effort number 1 is Kharkiv City. Supporting effort number 2 is the southern axes. Mobilization and force generation efforts, and we'll also talk about activities in Russian occupied areas within Ukraine. So let's go to the southern, or excuse me, we're going to go to the eastern region first. Let's just draw here, all right? I'll draw what I know, and then we'll go into the report. And I highlight key cities and key regions that I'm going to be referencing, and then I'll use the lime green pen to, if I need to highlight the area I'm talking about, I will. So red circles are Russian-held cities within Ukraine. So here's Popasna. Some of the big cities that are mentioned frequently: Severodonetsk, Lyman, Izium, Orlivka is mentioned. Unsure if it will be today, but it's just, I'm circling it because it's mentioned before. We'll leave that there. We got Martin with the big $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Martin. Thank you to everybody for all of the support on Mercado Media this evening. Oh my goodness. Here's Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, Druzhnivka. We're doing our Monday. It's a brand new month. We're in the month of July. Monday will be our fundraiser. We've been doing a Ukraine fundraiser. We haven't done one in a couple months. I do apologize. It's been a busy time for me. After the war started, I moved into my own place. It was busy. I lost like more than over half of my viewers because I wasn't live for like a month because I had to move and get out of a living situation. So thank you guys for all the support, and we will be running a fundraiser again on Monday. Haven't done it in a couple months. So these are the main cities within Ukraine, and then Advidka. And Advidka here. I think that's all the ones. Baron Cove is up here. Okay. I'm going to highlight the roadways that are used in purple. Roadways are purple. That's 2. Okay, here we go. This is the E40 highway that the Russians have been using to try to further their advance to Sloviansk. Whitney, thank you so much for the membership. Thank you so much, Whitney. E40, and then here's that T1302 highway that's talked about continuously. And you guys can see just upon, if you watch daily, you'll notice even in this region here, the claimed Russian control is starting to get to the western side of the T1302 highway, and I'm talking about here. I'm drawing this map every day in this region right here. They're on both sides of the highway at this point. They're starting to they're closed. The Russian forces are closing it off here. The Ukrainians are retreating from the area. They're not putting up they're putting up a fight as they leave, but they're not trying to hold this ground as steady as they were. They were holding it while they were in Severodonetsk. Now the Ukrainians are starting to retreat and leave the area. And then I'll draw that on the map, so it'll be like this. Ukrainians are retreating out of the area. Draw a couple arrows reflecting that into Seversk. Here's the T0513 highway that the Ukrainians are using to get their troops out, or to get their resources as far away from Lysychansk as they can. T0513, now I'm going to write on here. So here's E40. That's the E40 highway. That's a terrible 3. That's a bad 2. There we go. That's a T1302 highway, E40 highway. And that's about it. That's all I need to really draw right now. I'll draw some of the Russian advances here. From Kreminna. I'll do Kreminna and then Rubinstein. Again, red arrows are the Russian advance. Okay, you got the advance from Liman towards Sloviansk that the Russians have been attempting and failing. You got the advance from Izium towards Sloviansk, which the Russians have been failing on. The Russians haven't had many. I'll show you where the Russians are having successes and where they're not. Because again, even within this little highlighted area here, they're not having complete and total success of even this region. So all of the Russian successes right now are in here. All right, let's go. All of the Russian successes in Donbass right now are here. This is where the Russian successes are in Ukraine as of right now. Okay? Minimal, like I'm talking maybe a block or two within a village in Advika. They're right outside the city of Advika here. There's yellow on this map, and they haven't taken the city at all. Because even just here, they don't have enough. The Russians don't even have enough resources to take this city. They haven't. The Ukrainians are able to hold them off here because again, they put all of their stuff here. They put all their eggs here. The Russians had moved their stuff. So where the green on the map is, that is where the Russians are having the most of their success. In this area and down here, as of late, not many successes from the Russian military. This is about, if you want to split it up into 3, in the last week alone, I haven't even read the report yet today, and I'm going to get to that, but just in the last week, and we want to talk about a W or an L for Russia and their advance, it'd be an L here in this pocket, it'd be an L to the north of the Donbass, because they haven't advanced anything. They've made incremental gains in Liman, but that's nothing that's going to change anything or take a city. The only W's that the Russians have had is taking the city of Severodonetsk and are likely going to take Lysychansk in the coming days. So they're actually taking cities here, and the Ukrainians are able to defend them. But again, that is because the Russians have put all of their equipment there. They should be having successes, all right? They should be in here. All of their stuff's here. That's where the Russians are having the most of their success in Ukraine as of today. Now let's get into the report. Russian forces continued to conduct offensive operations in settlements south and southwest of Lysychansk in an effort to encircle the city and sever Ukrainian logistic routes on June 1st. So we're talking here now. That's in this pocket. That's in this region. Here's Lysychansk. This is Lysychansk in the blue circle because it's still held. It's still Ukrainian held, but this is where we're talking about. I'm going to use the green color to highlight specific areas I'm referencing. Head of the Luhansk Oblast administration, Serhiy Hadai, reported that Russian forces continued to launch assaults on the Lysychansk oil refinery and conducted their positions in the northwestern and southeastern parts of the plant. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed that Russian forces seized the Lysychansk gelatin factory, but Ukrainian officials stated that Ukrainian forces repelled a Russian reconnaissance in force against the plant. So today, the Russians haven't. They had an L in that plant. The Ukrainians held them off in the oil plant. Russian forces attacked Toplivka in the northern part of Vovochirivka and Malozarenetiv. That's a very long word. Malori and Zenesitiv. And are interdicting Ukrainian lines of communication along the Toplivka-Lysychansk road. That's up here. Okay, these are the two areas. You got the Chechens, the Ramzan Kadyrev's units up there. This is where the Kadyrievites are. Russian Telegram channel Rebar claimed that fighting is ongoing in Bila Hora, just southeast of Lysychansk, which, if true, would indicate that Ukrainian forces continue to defend the western bank of the Seversky Donetsk River. All right, that's right here. That's get a little skinnier. That means there's still Ukrainians fighting here. Just southeast. There's a little pocket here, and that's here. Would suggest that Ukrainians haven't fully retreated from the area if they're defending it. Miroshnik additionally claimed that Russian forces conducting operations near the Lysychansk rubber factory in the southeastern part of the city. Russian sources continue to issue numerous reports of a successful Russian river crossing near Kreminna, study working on independently verify such claims with available satellite imagery. Chechen fighters published a video claiming to have seized Privilia and reached Novodorenzensk on July 1st. The Ukrainian General Staff reported shelling in Privilia, however. Russian forces maintained artillery fire and launched airstrikes along the T-1302 Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway, but have not severed the road as of July 1st. They have not completely severed it. So even though that we got reported Russian control over this T-1302 highway here in this region, and then again in here, and the nuance in those two regions is that the Russians don't have full control over the region. So even though it'll reflect that the Russians have general aerial control over it, they don't have complete control. Hey, Elizabeth with a $10 super chat. Hey chat, hit that like, XOXO at Mercado Media. Thank you for your coverage of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And thank you, Christine, for being a member for 5 months. Love the coverage. Thank you. So that means that the Russians don't have complete control over those two areas. They're yellow for a reason. They're claimed. And they turn if it turns red over the highway, over the purple, then it will be a full-on control of the region. When it turns solid red, or when it turns red, that's when the Russians have it. Hadai reported that Russian forces have not reached the T-1302 on the ground, likely due to Ukrainian resistance and settlements along the highway. Both Russian and Ukrainian sources stated that Russian forces shelled Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of Bakhmut along the T-1302. That would be in here. That's in this region. Here's Bakhmut. This is Bakhmut, right? T-1302 highway to Lysychansk. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian forces unsuccessfully attempted to improve their tactical positions to support the advance towards Pokrovsky and launched airstrikes on Pokrovsky and Klinov. Rebar claimed that Wagner Group forces attempted to break through Ukrainian defenses in the Bakhmut direction, but Ukrainian officials did not report active ground assaults east of the city on July 1st. Thank you, Laura, member for 4 months. Thank you so much for being a member of the channel. Russian forces did not conduct offensive operations north of Sloviansk on July 1st and instead focused on regrouping troops, maintaining artillery fire, and improving their tactical positions. Kharkiv Oblast Administration head Oleg Sugbinov. I can't do this dude's name every time. Kharkiv Oblast Administration head Oleg Sunibogov stated that Russian forces are regrouping units, likely in an attempt to resume an offensive on Sloviansk. Resuming an offensive. So that would be, we're talking about this region now. Okay, so here's Sloviansk. They've been trying to advance on this city for the longest now, and have had unsuccessful and only incremental gains. And those incremental gains are literally like a city, like a town block in a village. If you just imagine your town or your neighborhood, and you imagine like a block of it, that's about all they're getting. Like just a block within here. Nothing that's going to change the map or change the tide of the war here. Sloviansk isn't under threat, if that makes sense. That's probably the best way to put it. If the city's under threat or not. Lysychansk is under threat. Okay, Seversk mids right now, kind of, not really, not yet completely under threat. The Russians are close, but they're not under threat. Sloviansk not under complete threat. Lysychansk again under threat. That city is likely to, this city here, Lysychansk, is likely to be taken within the next week or so. right? They're getting close. Ukrainians are fighting here in this little pocket to the south, but the Russians are really getting around here, and they're getting they're getting access to the other side of the river now. That Seversky Donetsk River was giving them a hell of a time, and they figured out the river issue. Russian forces did not conduct offensive operations north of Sloviansk on July 1st and instead refocused on regrouping troops, maintaining fire, and improving their tactical positions. So that's your Sloviansk. So that's right here. That's right here. Here's Sloviansk. One more time. Here's what happened today there. They did not conduct any offensive operations north of Sloviansk and instead focused on regrouping troops, maintaining artillery fire, and improving their tactical positions. So no advances, no changes. Kharkiv Oblast Administration head Oleg Subuganov stated that Russian forces are regrouping units, likely in an effort to resume an offensive on Sloviansk. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian forces intensified unspecified hostilities in the Liman area and shelled Seversk, likely in an effort to disrupt Ukrainian ground lines of communication. So that's why I said Seversk is mids right now for under threat, because it's getting shelled. This is Seversk. Sloviansk, Seversk. So the Ukrainians are funneling their exit through. Any civilians or any of their resources that they need to get out of the area, they're funneling it through the city of Seversk to get back to Bakhmut or Sloviansk. Geolocated footage showed Ukrainian forces striking a Russian Air Force maintenance base near Kuni, situated 22 kilometers north of Izium and adjacent to a connecting road that leads Russian ground lines of communication to Izium. Other geolocated footage also shows separate Ukrainian strikes on Russian supply and stockpiles and vehicles in the same area north of Izium. So for the day, it's same as my week summary for the week. So this region here be a W for Russia. So this is in terms of win or loss for Russia or Ukraine, and this is what it's like in all of the fronts. It's and I feel that's probably the best way to put it. I do put a generalized poll in the chat. Who do you feel is winning the war? But it's such a complex answer because in certain areas, I mean, if you were reporting from just the eastern, if all your reporting was just on this area alone, or all of your information, if all of your getting from this war is coming out of here. Oh wow, Mod Taylor gifted viewers. Mod Taylor gifted 5 Mercado Media memberships. Wow, thank you so much. If all of your information was coming out of here, you would think Russia is dominating Ukraine, right? You would think Russia is just totally, winning on every front on everything, which that narrative makes sense for the region because this is where all of the Russian propaganda is. So people that are more so gonna toe the Russian narrative and just parrot it instead of challenge it or report on the whole picture, it makes sense why they would only focus on this portion of Russia's victories, because it's in the Donbass. This is where their propaganda is at the highest. This is what they want. And again, like I said yesterday, I feel at the end of all this, or at the end of just this phase of it, Russia won't stop until they have this. Oops. At least until they can secure this and then make all this red. Finish getting this part of the Donbass. This is what Russia wants. And I don't know if that'll be good enough for them, and they'll contend at that, and then they'll start talking peace talks at that point once they seize this part. I don't know if they're going to continue their advance into these cities in Ukraine here. We'll see, but I feel that once Russia has this territory, they'll be ready to talk, because this is where they want, just for now. Who knows in the future if this is going to continue, which starting to look like it. This is going to last quite a while, this war. It's going to last many, many years. It already has lasted 8 years. This is where their propaganda is at its highest. And if you are a Russian, if you're a Russian war supporter of the war, or you just believe Russia's narratives, you're going to say that Russia's winning, because this is where they're winning. They are winning in the east. To the southeast, Advidka, L, Popasna for the day in this pocket here. Along the T1302, L, no territory gains. Just shellings along the T1302, nothing changed. This whole region up here, for both of them, L, for the day. This is just day to day, not in general, not in the future, not forever and ever, just for the day. L, WLL, for Russia, okay, in their advance and taking territory. Nothing up here. Actually, I guess you could put this as a draw. They didn't lose any territory, but they didn't gain any. The only area that they're gaining territory is in the far east, in the Severodonetsk, Lysyansk pocket. And that is why you're hearing Russian, pro-Russian pro-war Russians or Americans that are pro-war or pro the Russian narrative, why they're gleefully saying that the Russians are winning, because they're only focused on this area here in the east. We'll talk about other areas that Ukraine is winning. Okay, that is the update in the Donbass, and now we'll get to the northeastern Donbass, and then we'll talk about the southern axes. Hit that like button if you guys could for me. Thank you to all of our members. Thank you to Mod Taylor for gifting the memberships. And like I said, we just unlocked that feature randomly. I think YouTube's trying to keep up with Twitch. I think they're starting to go in a little bit more on streamers. I hope so. YouTube's more of a video platform. People do stream here, and it is successful. And I'm hoping that YouTube sees the potential of it and starts to do a little bit more and does more for chat features and etc. And right now the gifting of subs, that's Twitch. The gifting of memberships on YouTube is, you can only do it on the computer right now, which is junk. You can't do it on your phone. So now let's talk about the northeast and the Kharkiv Oblast. Russian forces continue to shell Ukrainian positions around Kharkiv city and did not conduct offensive operations north or northeast of the city on July 1st. So no offensive operations from Russia in the northeast region. Let's highlight some cities here so you guys know where I'm talking about. Here's the city of Kharkiv, shelled constantly. Let me zoom out a little bit more, actually, so you guys can see Belgorod. Belgorod is in Russia, so this is on the border. This city's on the border with Russia and Ukraine. Here's Belgorod. Vovchansk, that's mentioned sometimes. I'm going to highlight it because it's been a topic, the city, and fighting going back and forth, so I will highlight that city now. We got Dieter Heifert with a $7.99 super chat. Thank you, Dieter. And then we got $10 super chat from Scooter Backfired. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for all of the support on this Friday evening. Here's the city of Zolochiv in Ukraine. Here's Chuhuiv. Smaller cities. Okay. And that is about it. There was, I'm going to put a green box. Now, if there was fighting, I'll put a green box. But this is where the fighting has been going in Kharkiv. Unclear if there's fighting going on today. I haven't read the report yet. But this is where the focus of the ground fighting in the Kharkiv Oblast has been. As of today, I don't see any reports of ground fighting going on or any advancements. Oh yeah, Stary Saltiv. This is yellow. Stary Saltiv, I'm going to do yellow because that city goes back and forth. More like an orange so you can see it better. Stary Saltiv, that's back and forth. All right, now let's get into it here. Thank you so much, Martin Van Oyen. Just too many bad decisions by the Russians. They will lose over a long time. Thank you so much for your coverage, Martin. Thank you. And then Elizabeth says, let's see some support from Mercado Media. Thank you. Show some love, y'all. Thank you so much, Martin and Elizabeth. So, Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian forces have concentrated units of the Western Military District around Kharkiv city to defend previously occupied positions and maintain systematic artillery fire. The Ukrainian General Staff added that Russian forces launched an airstrike on Mostopov, approximately 55 kilometers southeast of Kharkiv city, likely in an effort to suppress Ukrainian counteroffensives within the area. Kharkiv Oblast Administration head Oleg Subuganov, that's the one, I can't do it, stated that Ukrainian forces have not lost any liberated territories around Kharkiv since their liberation in May. So Ukrainians haven't lost any territory in Kharkiv. So this blue on here, this blue on the map that you see, this light blue, again, Russia all held this territory at one point. They were very close to Kharkiv. They were very close to taking the city of Kharkiv. I'm just going to outline it in red to show you where the Russians were. No longer. Okay, they actually were right on the outskirts of Kharkiv. This all was red at one point. Right? It all branched into here, and now the Ukrainians have taken it back. Furthermore, the Ukrainians have not lost any of that territory that they've liberated. They've only had gains. That is accurate because the Russians continue to move their troops this way towards the Donbass. All of their resources up here that they had have been redirected to the Donbass. Okay, nothing new up here in Kharkiv. Only to report that the Ukrainians haven't lost any of their liberated cities. They haven't lost any ground. That's about it. Nothing to report from Kharkiv. Just shellings, continual airstrikes going on a daily basis that have been norm in the northeast in Kharkiv. That city's been shelled every day since the invasion has began. So now let's get into the southern axes on the map. That's it for the northeastern axes. Let's get to the southern axes, which is Odessa, Mykolaiv, Kirsten, Zaparizia, Mariupol, Crimean Peninsula. That's all happening down here. Let's do some drawing quick. Red Russian cities, blue Ukrainian. Or Russian held. They're not Russian held cities. They're not cities in Russia. Occupied Russian cities. Kherson, Melitopol, Mariupol, Berdyansk, Vasilivka. That's about it for Volnovavka. That's talked about a few times. Here's Donetsk. You need to know that's Donetsk in the Donbass. That's about it for key Russian-held Ukrainian cities. If there's more, I'll highlight. Now let's go into key Ukrainian cities. Mykolaiv, Zaparizia, Kryvyi Rih, Orikhiv, Mariupol. Dnipro's up here. There we go. I'll give it some love up there. There's Dnipro. Odessa's not on here. The map's not big enough to show Odessa. Now I'll highlight the Ukrainian counteroffensives, their counteroffensive push. Where the Ukrainians are targeting their counteroffensives. I'm going to do purple on the E58 highway to show the Russian ground line of communication. So similar to like the T1302 highway that the Ukrainians are using for their ground line of communication, getting equipment in and out and resources. This is what the Russians are using. This is the E58 highway. Connects all of these cities on the southern axis north of Crimea. Through Mariupol, right? It goes right into Russia. Goes right into Rostov on. Oops. Oh goodness. It goes right into Rostov on Don in Russia. Right on through, right along the southern axis. Oh my goodness. Stop. Stop. All right, there we go. That is the Russian ground line of communication. That is E58. Okay, and then I'll draw it over here too, so you know, E58. That is the Russian ground. Oops. Ground line of communication, GLOC. In the purple. And so the Russians are moving equipment. They're moving their shit from here into Russia and back. The Russians are on the defense now in Kirsten and have had to pause their Russification efforts within that city due to the Ukrainian counter-offensives that have been going on. They've had to pause their Russification there. And now let's get into the update. Russian forces conducted artillery and missile strikes across the southern axes on July 1st. Ukraine's Southern Operational Command reported that Russian Tu-22 aircraft launched 3 Kh-22 cruise missiles at a Cernivka resort village in the Belgorod-Dniprovsky district of the Odessa Oblast and struck a residential area. So I'll read that again. I'll read that again and highlight Odessa in a second. Head of the Mykolaiv Oblast Administration, Vitaly Kim, reported that Russian forces fired 12 missiles at the Mykolaiv Oblast border in the course of July 1st. 12 missiles. So we have strikes on Odessa and strikes on Mykolaiv. So this is what happened today. Strikes outside of Mykolaiv. Kirsten, Mykolaiv, Zaparizia. Okay, so let's highlight that in green. These are the happenings for the day. No territory gains. So you had strikes in Mykolaiv, strikes along the E105 highway, likely between Zaparizia and Vaslivka, and what other oblast? Dnipropetrovsk oblasts. So shellings up in here too. So you had Russian shellings outside of Mykolaiv between Kirsten. So shellings here, shellings in Zaparizia Oblast, and then shellings in the Dnipropetrovsk Oblasts, and then Odessa, which I got to zoom out to show. Beyond that, nothing's changed. No territory changes or map changes today on July 1st. So here is the city of Odessa, and I'll read that one more time. Let me highlight that so you see where it is. Circle a couple cities again. Here's Odessa, Mykolaiv, no, that's Novi Ba. Kirsten, okay. And there was Russian strikes in the city. They come from the Crimean Peninsula and from mainland Ukraine. So strikes come from here. And they come from mainland, from Ukraine, from the peninsula. So one more time on that. Ukraine's Southern Operational Command reported that Tu-22 aircraft launched 3 Kh-22 cruise missiles at the Cernivka resort village in Belgorod-Dniprovsky district of the Odessa Oblast and struck a residential area, killing 16. Killing 16. That's here in Odessa. That was reported for, how long am I into the stream now? I'm a little over an hour, so it would have been 5 hours ago I was seeing the reports from that. Head of the Mykolaiv Oblast Administration, Vitaly Kim, reported that Russian forces fired 12 missiles at the Mykolaiv Oblast. So that would be here. So shellings in Odessa, shellings in Mykolaiv. And that is about it from the southern axes today. Civilian infrastructure and civilian deaths from the Russian military in Odessa. Not sure on the reports from Mykolaiv. But right now, from Odessa, 16 dead and 38 injured from artillery strikes. And we'll look up that on Twitter when we can and see if there's any clips from that. And that is it in the southern axes. Went over all three fronts in the northeast, in the east, and in the southern axes. Now let's talk about activity in Russian occupied cities in general, and then also their mobilization and force efforts. So the mobilization and force generation efforts, which is the Russian objective, expand combat power without conducting general mobilization. The Russian military leadership continued efforts to expand the pool of service members available to fight in Ukraine. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian Eastern Military District is conducting a, quote, active conscription campaign and opened a, quote, recruitment center for the mobilization reserve at the points of permanent deployment of the 127th Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 5th Combined Arms Army in Vladivostok and Sergeyevka. It is unclear whether Ukrainian General Staff is referring to volunteer recruitment drive, a call-up of conscripts, or a call-up of reservists. Authorities of the Donetsk People's Republic are reportedly collecting recent graduates of the DNR's Academy of the Ministry of Internal Affairs for immediate deployment without requisite documentation. Melitopol Mayor Ivan Fedorov additionally claimed that Syrian troops are stationed in Melitopol alongside Russian occupation elements, which indicates that Russian authorities are continuing to leverage foreign combat reserves. MJ Katz with the $10 super chat. Thank you. They're military. They're doing everything they can to replenish their force capabilities. They're opening their recruitment pool. They're accepting older recruits now. They're accepting recruits with medical problems. They're not getting any training. They're receiving days of training, not even a week worth of training before they're thrown into a uniform and sent back out onto the front line. They're shortening time from the front line and back, and you're sent back. They're opening their recruitment pool into the Russian military. All right, and that's something I served in the military. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. All right, 100,000%. I would probably end up in the gulag. No way I would fight for that military ever. But that is what they're having to do to expand their recruitment pool. Continued efforts of expanding their pool of service members. There's limitations and restrictions to joining even the U.S. military or any branches. Like the age of 35 is the limit. You got to go through an entire process before you even join. You got to go to a place called MEPS in the to join the military. You got to do tests. Like one of the tests that hurt me was I had to duck walk on my knees on this hard linoleum floor, and you got to walk on your kneecaps. That sounds terrible, right? But if there's a doctor sitting there with a clipboard and he's watching, and I'm like, this hurts. But like, you got to pass simple things like that. But even just thinking about all of that nuance and all of the process it took me to join, even just get to basic training. They're being put out into combat within days. So I don't know how long that these recruits and these conscripts are going to have success in Ukraine, but they're leaning on more foreign troops like the Chechens and the Syrian troops now, and they're private military contractors. And I find it odd, or I find it interesting that Russia is saying that NATO is a provocation for their help and their assistance within Ukraine. Yet Russia is relying heavily on foreign militaries and private military groups and all this to even advance their military and advance their goals within seizing villages and territory within Ukraine. Their own military, their own what they got from their country is not good enough to even take over a non-NATO country. Their military is garbage. Their training is junk. Their equipment is trash. The only thing they have is their multiple launch rocket system truck capabilities and their rocket systems and their cruise missile capabilities, those KH-22 missiles, their Kaliber cruise missiles off the ships, their Black Sea Fleet. That is what's intimidating from the Russian military. Their heavy artillery capabilities, not their ground forces. Their ground forces and their mechanized units, trash, terrible, the worst. They're not who we thought they were. All right, again, they wouldn't be anything without their rocket capabilities. Without that at all. Activities in Russian occupied areas. Russian objective: consolidate administrative control of occupied areas, set conditions for potential annexation into Russian Federation, or some other future political arrangement of Moscow's choosing. Russian authorities continue to set conditions for the economic and legal integration of occupied territories into Russian systems on July 1st. Legal. That's how they annex these cities. The Ukrainian Resistance Center reported that Russian authorities in occupied Kirsten Oblast closed the Kirsten branch of Ukroposhka, the Ukrainian National Postal Service, as part of the overall effort to force Ukrainian enterprises in occupied areas to convert to the ruble. Melitopol Mayor Ivan Fedorov similarly stated that Russian authorities are planting rubles in Melitopol to facilitate economic annexation into businesses. Russian authorities are also continuing passportization measures in Melitopol and Luhansk Oblast. Russian authorities are also taking measures to streamline cooperation between the Russian legal system and legislative bodies in occupied areas. Russian Federation Penitentiary Service Director Arkady Gostev signed a memorandum of understanding for law enforcement with the Luhansk People's Republic's First Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, Roman Vidomenko, which will facilitate further integration of the LNR into Russia's criminal law and prison system. Such measures are part of a wider campaign by Russian authorities to set frameworks of cooperation between occupied Ukrainian areas and Russian political elements in order to shape the development of occupied areas in a way that resembles Russian structures and is conducive to direct integration. So it sounds like they're starting to develop integration policies within the Luhansk Oblast. So they're working on that. Oops. Hit the wrong button. Didn't mean to do that. They're working on their integration over here. Okay, integration here in Kirsten has paused. They're struggling. The Russians are struggling with their integration in the southern axes here. These are where their current annexations, their annexation attempts, and their Russification is taking place. Well, in general, I gotta back out. I mean, in general, you gotta include Crimea too. So let's go here. So here's where the Russians' annexation or annexation attempts are going. Crimea, that's been annexed. Kherson, this whole region of Ukraine to the south, from Melitopol to Mariupol. And Luhansk. Oops. Donetsk, they have to finish taking. They have to take more cities in Donetsk to start annexing that region. But these are the annexation portions of Ukraine that Russia is trying to take through all of these efforts. The one right now that I don't feel will be successful out of the 4 circles that I've made on this map is here. This is where I feel that the Russians won't have success in Kherson. If the Ukrainian counteroffensives can continue on the trajectory that they have been on, that will definitely halt all efforts of trying to Russify in the area and Russify the city of Kherson. All right, that's the only region that I think this will fail. I think they will get some type of implementation going here. It's going to take a while. They're fumbling it still. There's pushback in the city of Melitopol. The civilians are pushing back. There's resistance. These conscription centers that Russia's putting up in cities or recruitment centers are getting Molotov cocktailed, getting firebombed. I shouldn't say firebombed, but they're getting Molotov cocktailed. They're getting there's resistance to the Russian occupation going on. So they're not just taking it; they're pushing back. And then in the Luhansk Oblast, but I feel the Ukrainians will will prevent the complete Russification in Kirsten. They're close. They're 10 to 15 kilometers away right here. 10 to 15 kilometers away from Kirsten. We'll see. All right, and that is the map update for the day. One more time, we'll go through the key takeaways for July 1st, and then we'll get into our video clip section. Thank you to everybody for all of the support on this stream. We're not done. We got videos to go, and if you hang out at the end of the stream, I'm gifting 20 more subs at the end to see who's going to get it. I'm not sure who is. I gifted 20 subs at the beginning. Shout out to Mod Ivy for the gifted subs. Thank you to everybody for all of the support here on Mercado Media on this Friday evening. Key takeaways. Russian forces continued efforts to encircle the Lysychansk and conducted offensive operations to the south and southwest of the city. Russian forces have likely not yet reached the T-1302 Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway on the ground, but are denying Ukrainian forces the use of it by continuing artillery and airstrikes against remaining Ukrainian positions along the road. Russian forces focused on regrouping and improving their tactical positions north of Sloviansk. Russian forces did not conduct any confirmed ground assaults in northern Kharkiv Oblast and conducted shelling Ukrainian positions north of Kharkiv city. Russian forces conducted artillery and missile strikes along the southern axes. Russian authorities continued to expand the pool of recruits available to fight within Ukraine. Thank you, Whitney Colony, for becoming a supporter on Facebook. I'm not sure how you did that. Apparently we don't have that ability, but thank you for becoming a supporter. I let you. See what I mean? Facebook doesn't make any sense. I'm on a 90-day ban, but yet they just let someone become a supporter on the page. I don't get it. Facebook doesn't make any sense at all. All right, that's the map changes. Now let's get into the video clip section of the stream. Boom. There we go. There we go. Perfect. All right. We're going to go down the timeline here, we'll start with 1420, actually, before we get into the video clip section. I had two things ready. It wasn't in order. I do apologize. But this is from yesterday, or from 2 days ago, from the shelling of the mall in Ukraine. And this is 1420 YouTube channel that is interviewing Russians and showing them pictures of that mall in Kremenchuk that was struck, and hearing and seeing some of the responses from everyday Russians in Russia. And this 1420 YouTube channel has been doing a great job of providing some Russian opinions throughout this war and throughout this invasion. So this is the 1420 YouTube channel. Just going to provide a reaction to it here. Go support this channel, and I will share the link to this video in our Discord server. Link to our Discord in the description of the video. So this is 1420 asking everyday Russians their thoughts on the destruction and the bombing of the mall in Kremenchuk.
Вот недавно ВОА News сообщила, что был взорван торговый центр. Можете посмотреть фотографии.
That's the mall that we covered the other day.
Да, знаю, Кременчуг.
Слышали уже про это, да? Ну что думаете вообще, зачем это было сделано, и вообще фейк это, не фейк?
Это не фейк, это торговый центр на мире.
Ну а какой, как кажется, смысл в этом вообще был?
Запугать население, оказать давление на украинскую власть.
Нет, все что угодно может быть. Сейчас вы знаете, да, как все такое просто делают. Плохо. Война — это плохо. Это всегда было плохо. Это все самое грязное. Убийство, обман, изнасилование, воровство, торговля органами. Все самое плохое, что есть в мире, и все, что связано с человечеством, это война. Все, что самое хорошее есть, это мир и любовь.
А меня не посадят за это?
Конечно нет. За что?
Ну, ужасная ситуация. Что тут сказать?
Ну, вот кто-то говорит, что там сами украинцы подорвали, чтобы дискредитировать. Кто-то говорит то, что российская армия, чтобы запугать.
Конечно, я не верю в то, что это сами украинцы подорвали, это очевидно, мне кажется.
Ну или фейки сделали там какие-то.
Да нет, я думаю, что либо действительно был какой-то завод, либо это просто ошибка при наведении, потому что, ну, как бы мы уже 100 раз видели, что такое же было.
И часто же бывают ошибки, что принимают что-то за какую-то цель. Вот, поэтому случайные ошибки случаются всегда, поэтому и везде. что тут непонятно. Ну а потом, конечно, ошибку признавать никто не хочет.
Ну, а кто
Mistakes.
бомбился?
В новостях говорят, что это якобы российская армия закинула.
Ну, зря
Вот.
говорят. Это, скорее всего,
Сами,
эти нацисты киевские.
то есть сами же украинцы его разбомбили, получается.
Конечно.
Ну а сейчас сами как...
Они против Донецка, против Луганска, понятно, что они не хотят, чтобы были
Мгм.
эти две республики, которые отделились от них.
То есть теракты устраивают внутри государства.
Конечно.
Because again, that's the real. There's the real reasoning. There's Russia, and the Russian speakers in the East want Donbass to secede from Ukraine. They want the independence away from Ukraine. And Ukraine, obviously, Ukraine is like, no, that's a part of our country, and that's the Donbass is part of Ukraine, and Russia's like, no, actually, no. There's Russian speakers there. We're gonna invade your country and now take that region and then propagandize it and lie to all of the people living there that Kyiv and the leadership within Ukraine is like this Nazi regime, while President Zelensky is Jewish.
Мгм.
Эти две республики, которые отделились от них.
То есть теракты устраивают внутри государства.
Конечно.
Ну вообще сами как к спецоперации относитесь, поддерживаете?
Я поддерживаю донецких борцов за мир. Они вот этих хохлов, которые воюют. Я их не только не поддерживаю, просто, ну как, может, как ненавижу.
Думаю, что убили людей, гражданских, мирных. Ни за что.
Ну опять же, кто и для какой цели?
Ну, кто сейчас у нас проводит специальную военную операцию в Украине? Россия.
Потому что кто-то говорит, что вот там сами же украинцы подорвали торговый центр, чтобы дискредитировать российскую власть и армию. Кто-то говорит, что это вообще фейки.
Нет, это не фейк. К сожалению, это не фейк. Если кому интересно, может в интернете очень много интересных видео посмотреть. Люди снимали сразу же после взрыва. Погибли молодые ребята, молодые девчонки. Я не знаю, у кого там в дурном воображении есть какой-то боевой склад. Не верю.
Ну а для чего и кто это вообще мог сделать? То есть получается постановка там Европы или Украины?
Я сторонник того, чтобы сделать Россию плохой, а не то, что, ну, как бы Россия же помогает Украине. Им зачем наносить какой-то вред народу украинскому? Они, наоборот, помогают.
Это похоже на деоматиз?
Не очень.
Но, значит, возможно, фейк. Что значит в Украине нацисты? У нас основная позиция, что у нас военная операция специальная.
Ну а для чего она нужна?
Она... Хер ее знает. Честно, это я тебе как политолог говорю. Хрен ее знает. Зачем она нужна? Фотки класс, мне нравится. Не, реально, вот это красиво. Я люблю все вот это вот раздолбанное, разгромленное. Ой, красота. Могли просто жители Украины быть долбанутыми. Могло быть все что угодно.
Второй.
You guys, a political scientist with that speaking and that energy, he's probably going to be appointed to somewhere high in the Kremlin.
Летела не в сам торговый центр, а в пространство за ним. И если быть точным, она ударила по какому-то складу с боеприпасами. Ну, то есть местные жители...
То есть получается просто ошибка.
Да не совсем так, просто местные жители в ТикТоке снимали видео о том, что какого хрена наши власти не уведомили о том, что мы храним боеприпасы прямо в жилом секторе, и это уже не первый раз. Ну, это, естественно, большое как бы горе вообще для всех, потому что война — это всегда плохо. Но когда страна проводит на своей территории учения НАТО, не являясь членом НАТО, когда она проводит явно антироссийскую политику и собирает какие-то праворадикальные группировки, которые выходят на площади с плакатами с простреленной головой Путина, это явно ненормально.
Да, не веселые фотографии. Это тоже не смешные фотографии, да.
Ну а сами скорее какой стране больше доверяете вот из того, что...
Ну, я патриот России. В любом случае, я бывший подводник. И для меня всегда останется врагом блок на НАТО. Как бы так, я воспитанник СССР.
А при чем здесь НАТО?
НАТО, потому что все она замутила. Мы все взрослые люди, понимаем.
То есть это ее вина получается?
Не то, что ее вина. Здесь две державы. В мире всего три державы таких сильных. Это независимость там первый или второй или третий. Это Россия, Китай и Америка. Ну, самый, я считаю, опасный враг для России это Китай.
In no particular order: Russia, China, America.
Китай, он такую позицию выдерживает, знаешь, когда Россия с Америкой там...
Так все же говорят, что Китай главный союзник России. Там,
ну, все бывают сначала союзниками, а потом врагами. Вообще для России Украина, Белоруссия и Россия это три славянских братьев. И как бы вот извне люди сделали врагами, да? Я никогда не думал, что Украина будет с Россией или Россия с Украиной. Это политика. Вы понимаете, мы будем говорить, греть воздух. От нас ничего не зависит. Америка хочет Украину. У Украины есть нефть, есть газ, есть земля. Земля в Украине от Бога такая черно-зеленая, понимаешь? Единственный, кто вывез из Украины эшелонами землю, это Гитлер. У них даже закон есть, строго запрещено вывозить землю. У них очень земля хорошая, там черенок, лопатки воткни.
The cognitive dissonance, and like just that's how the power of propaganda and the media and videos and shit, that you can say that America wants land in Ukraine while Russia is literally on the ground in Ukraine, taking land, destroying resources, and preventing the exports of goods from Ukraine, from wheat and grain out of Ukraine through the Black Sea. Wild.
Во-первых, смотрите, что дома, что торговый центр, это уже давно известно, превратили в точки военные. Украина, ВСУ.
Там нацисты сидят, получается, в торговом центре?
Они загоняют туда танки. Там все что угодно может быть. В жилых домах, на последних этажах, там снайперские.
Nikki super chatted saying Facebook subs are back. See, the Facebook's playing with me. I got subscriber option back on Facebook. Thank you, everybody that's a subscriber on the Facebook page. So that'd be similar to like a member on YouTube. Facebook and YouTube are just trying to come up with different names than Twitch. It's the monthly option that does support the most, by the way. It's $2.99 on YouTube and $4.99. There's different versions on Facebook, different levels on YouTube, but those are the ones that do help the most. Thank you.
Жителей там, естественно, нет, они всех выгоняют. Значит, говорят людям, вот торговый центр, мы туда входим, вы тоже можете войти туда и брать, но только продукты, никакой алкашки. И ВСУшники туда заходят, нацики туда заходят, и там грабят все, что могут. Они, говорят, грабили шубы, технику и все. Потом им звонок по телефону, они тут же уходят, и ракеты по этому торговому центру. Ну, ситуация может быть любая. То, что мы могли грохнуть, и по домам, естественно, мы стреляли. Представьте себе, если снайперы сидят на последнем этаже. Что мы будем делать? Мы прекрасно понимаем, что в домах людей нет живых. Они в подвале или вообще ушли куда-то. Ну, это ежу понятно. И дураку понятно, не военному это непонятно. А есть статья 106 и 107 ООН. Так как мы преемники победы в Великой Отечественной войне, мы имеем право бороться с нацизмом в любой стране. Вот и все.
So there's some opinions from some everyday Russians on the war in Ukraine and looking at the photos of the Kremenchuk Mall bombed in Ukraine. And this guy here, political scientists, our primary position is that it's a special military operation. Yeah, you're taking a position that isn't the fact, that isn't the truth. It's a position. Now let's get into the combat footage going on in Ukraine in the last 24 hours. 15 hours ago, here's a video of a Polish AHS crab howitzers in Ukrainian service. Black and white video. What is this called? A Polish AHS crab howitzer? That sounds like something we need to look up on YouTube. Sounds like we need an educational military video for that. I don't know what kind of channel this is. Oh no. Oh man, I'm not gonna get a nice video for this one, am I? The AHS crab. Maybe just type AHS crab howitzers.
It is based on the chassis of the
there we go.
Polish Army.
That's good enough.
Built by
That's good. All right. So let's look at the video first, and then we'll go into what this thing does and what it is. Any new equipment or any foreign piece of equipment from another country that gifts their military equipment to Ukraine, we watch a video to understand what it is and what it does. The results of propaganda is intense. $20 super chat from the Eagles Rage. Yes, it is.
Кожну цель своя витрата призначається, відповідно до цілі. Що це ціль? Жирна чи не жирна. І, допустим, вчора я відпрацював 13-14 цілей. Вчора відпрацював. П'ятий центр. Де серед вогонь?
Я в Бучі мешкаю.
Пятый заряд.
Тобто, ввів собі ціль, ввів координати цілі і чекаю, поки вони приведуться до бою. Вони приводяться до бою, даю
Definitely training speed. Definitely a training speed.
установки на гармату, і вони вже там працюють.
Це моя земля. Я тут народився. Я ні на кого не нападав. Я захищаю свій дім.
Так, чистанчик. Отакі у нас крабик. Поляки приїдуть.
Got a crab for the crab
Ми
howitzer.
подаруємо такого крабика.
Ну, мрія, так як і у всіх військових, зараз одна і та сама. Перемогти ворога, закінчити війну, повернутися додому, бачити близьких, рідних, проводити там час вдома, кругу сім'ї. Нормально собі жити.
So those are Polish AHS crab howitzers. Let's get a little information on what the hell they do and what they're about.
The Crab is a self-propelled howitzer built by Polish company Huta Stalowa Wola to meet the requirements of the Polish army. It is based on the chassis of the Korean Samsung Techwin K9 Thunder and uses a licensed-produced turret from the UK AS90 Braveheart variant with a 155mm
It's a long cannon, isn't it?
L52 gun built by Rheinmetall.
That Pion, the 2S3 Pion, I think is the longest one. The biggest and longest.
The Crab has a combat weight of 48 tons and is manned by a crew of 5, including the driver. It is powered by an MTU MT881 KA500 diesel engine developing 985 horsepower at 2,700 RPM, and this is coupled to an Allison X1100 5A3 automatic transmission with 4 forward and 2 reverse gears. This gives it a top speed of approximately 60 km an hour on paved roads or 30 km an hour off-road. It also has a maximum range of 400 km. It is capable of navigating 25-degree inclines and 17-degree side slopes and overcoming 0.8-meter vertical obstacles, 2.5-meter trenches, and fording rivers up to 1 meter deep. The chassis is provided with a hydro-pneumatic suspension system, providing increased crew comfort over rough terrain. and it can be made ready to fire or ready to move within 30 seconds, providing a good basis for shoot and scoot tactics.
Shoot and scoot. That's what the Ukrainians will need it for. Fire and then get the hell out of there.
Self-propelled howitzer uses a locally developed fire control system, which was developed by the Polish company WB Electronics, and it includes a ballistic computer, which is linked to an MVRS 700 SCD, ballistic Doppler radar, developed by Danish company Weibel Scientific.
So it's got some technology in there. It's not old at all. This is not an old piece of equipment.
The gun is capable of elevating between minus 3.5 degrees and plus 70 degrees, and has a minimum range of 4.7 kilometers and a maximum range of approximately 40 kilometers when using base bleed munitions. 40 rounds of ammunition are carried within the vehicle turret and the hull. The Crab has a burst rate of fire of 3 rounds in 10 seconds and can sustain a rate of fire of up to 6 rounds a minute for 3 minutes. However, the typical sustained rate of fire is just 2 rounds a minute.
Two rounds a minute. Typical sustained rate of fire is about 2 rounds a minute. Crew of 5 can go 60 kilometers an hour, and it's good for their shoot and scoot methods. So it's a good piece of equipment for Ukraine to have. Good howitzer. They need more of them. Video of Stugna P anti-tank guided missile strike by Ukraine's 35th Marine Infantry Brigade, reportedly on a Russian tank in the Kirsten area. Peas in the chat. Peas in the chat. Hit.
Плюс, пока ракету не меняю.
За Одессу, маму.
Alright. Direct hit. Stugna P. Ukraine's 35th Marine Infantry Brigade. Here you got footage from the Ukrainian military in the town of Potomakini. Oh, my goodness. Potomakini in the Kirsten Oblast, which is recaptured. Video shows destroyed a recaptured T-72B3 tank. So this is going to be going on in this region on the map. I want to go to Kirsten. Some of these counter attacks and these counter offensives that are happening within the city, or excuse me, within the Kirsten Oblast. It's going to be in here. We have the exact city. 1 second. In Potominki. Looks like we're exactly where that is. Okay, it's north. It's in the northeast. I was wrong. It's not in this region. Good thing I checked. It's north. It's up in this part of. It's up here. Be to the west of okay. Here. Okay, I got exactly where this video is taking place. Right here. Okay, maybe make it a little thicker. Right here in the Kirsten Oblast. Okay, in the Ukrainian counteroffensives. Right here.
Все четко сделали. Ну, нервничали, но в целом было, опасно. Но задачи выполнили. Это самое главное. И теперь там мирные уже себя лучше чувствуют. Я общался с Раисой, и общался прям у них как камень с плеч, честное слово, так приятно это было. Они там воды сразу, что-то поесть, что-то как-то помочь. И я заметил, что у них это очень классно. Сработали четко, зашли с флангов. Они ослабили немного позиции, мы этим воспользовались своевременно. Это, так что командование за это респект. Артиллерия хорошо отработана.
All right, interviewing a Ukrainian troop, and then some footage and videos. Excuse me, some photos and videos of the liberation of cities in the Kirsten Oblast. Here's 19 people were killed in a Russian missile strike on a residential building in Chernivka in the Odessa Oblast. So this happened in Odessa, in the city in the south, and I had talked about this, and it said I'd look up a video, but it's on our timeline. This happened within the city of Odessa here in the south, so I'm going to zoom out of all of it. Focus in this video, or anything relating to Odessa and civilian deaths today from Russians, is here. This is the city of Odessa. Let's make it blue. 19. 38 injured. City of Odessa. Southwestern axes in Ukraine. So we got some drone footage and on the ground footage of the strike on the residential building in Odessa. Here's photos. Residential apartment building that Russia hit today, killing 19, injuring 38 in the city of Odessa. Video of a decapitated Russian tank, likely a T-72B3 in the Kharkiv Oblast. It was reportedly destroyed with artillery. Destroyed Russian T-72 tank. So there's a T-72 tank, Russian, destroyed by Ukraine. The United States president doesn't affect what's the success of the Ukrainian military in defending Russian advancement under their country. The United States president doesn't have an effect on that. If Vladimir Putin would turn his troops around and take them out of Ukraine, that would be the way to go. It doesn't matter, United States president. Russia wants a president in the United States that's going to make their goals easier and make their narrative and their goals in Ukraine go a lot smoother. That's when a United States president will matter. Starting to take United States out of Western alliances and Western like NATO and the United Nations, and starting to take the United States out of that. That would be how a United States president affects what's going on in Ukraine, right? But the fact that we don't have a certain president, or a president isn't doing enough, or whatever the hell, isn't affecting this. We have the CIA is in every country. To say that it's in Ukraine as if it's a special thing is ridiculous. Video of artillery strikes on Russian positions by Ukraine's 30th Mechanized Brigade. More Russian positions destroyed. So this is again strikes on Russian positions. Beyond belief, horrible. Right on about the president and CIA. Thank you, Martin. All right, sorry I stopped talking there for a second. I was looking at some things. Yeah, it looks like Facebook has restored more. I have to look after the stream's over, but maybe the public streams calling it out helped. Video of artillery strikes on Russian warehouses by Ukraine's 40th Artillery, 92nd Mechanized, and 112th Territorial Brigades and SSO. That is, before we get into it, that is the best way to support, I would say, is becoming a patron on Patreon. We have a bunch of people asking, what is the best way to support Mercado Media? And it is the monthly guarantee, you know what I mean? So I can keep going because, you know, you wouldn't think that the $2.99 membership that you do get on the channel would mean anything over time, but it does, because if enough people do it, you know what I mean? So the membership option on YouTube, the subscription option on Facebook, and then the Patreon are like the top 3 for supporting Mercado Media. If that's what you want to do. If your support right now is just watching the stream and being here, thank you so much. That's all I care about. I'm more so talking about the people that have been asking for that. If you're not able to support or monetarily support me at all, I don't care. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for just being here and choosing Mercado Media as your source. Video from the last week of the Russian MTLB on fire by Ukraine's 93rd Mechanized Brigade. So whenever I'm talking about monetization stuff, don't feel you need to. I'm just addressing people asking about it. Never feel you have to send money. Don't ever feel that way. Don't ever feel you have to. I hope you'll send money on Monday when we do the fundraiser for Ukraine. If you haven't sent any money lately, definitely wait till then. Send money on Monday. Do our fundraiser. The fundraiser for Ukraine, all the money goes straight to the fundraising. It goes straight to the organization we are fundraising for. I'll have details for that on Monday before we start it. Russian TOS-1 Alpha thermobaric multiple launch rocket system in Ukraine. It's got a Z on it. This is a thermobaric truck. Those are thermobaric multiple rockets. Like vacuum bombs. The air around when the rocket explodes, or when it hits its target, the air around it sets on fire. Like there's a big fireball after the missile reaches its target. And that's that. Here is Russian BM-27 Uragan multiple launch rocket system in Ukraine. So here's a thermobaric one. Like I was saying earlier, this is Russia's successes here. They're rocket trucks, they're rockets. You don't need troops when you have a bunch of rocket systems that are keeping the enemy at bay, keeping the enemy away. Here's a BM-27 Uragan.
ходе выполнения боевой задачи расчетом мы выполнили огневую задачу по поражению противника. Поражены живая сила, командный пункт и огневые средства противника.
BM-27 Uragans being used. You got Russian Ministry of Defense video of Western Military District motorized rifle troops with BMP, AGS-17s, and SANI 120mm mortars and MT-12 anti-tank guns. Yeah, this is a Russian video of Russian equipment. So some Russian trenches, equipment. Russian soldiers, mortar team. What up, Leon's Porsche? Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Hope everyone is having a good night. What's up, Mercado? Doing well. What's up with you? Russian Ministry of Defense video of a Krastushka 4 EW system reportedly taking part in the war in Ukraine. What is that? Oh. Is there electronic warfare systems? They're jamming trucks. Is that a bell? Oh, do you hear that? One more time on that. What was that?
Предположительно беспилотник противника. Предположительно БРЛС противника. Есть подавить. Есть подавить. Цель подавлена. Цель подавлена.
These are Russian troops. They got the red.
В квадрате 2 все чисто. Сектор от 0 до 50 градусов. Доклад каждые 15 минут, как принял. Принял. Вперед. Вторая, смотреть периметр. В квадрате 2. Доклад каждый 15 минут.
The hell was that?
Вперед.
And then these two just went off into a random. What was that for? What was that? There's a little video, little something extra for the video. That was completely pointless. That was literally nothing. What the fuck was that?
What the fuck is that?
Okay, that was that little ending piece meant absolutely nothing. But that was so their Christina 4 EW system. That's like a counter surveillance electronic jamming system. Photos of members of Ukraine's 36th Marine Brigade with a DJI Mavic 3 UAV. These are commercialized. You can get these at your local technology store. Get these at your local any store you get technology from. So like Best Buy, whatever. You can get a DJI drone. Video from June 25th of artillery strikes with a 2S1 Gvozdyka howitzer by Ukraine's 36th Marine Brigade on Russian positions. So you got Ukraine artillery strikes on Russian positions. All right, that's from the 2S1 Gvozdyka howitzers from Ukraine. Here's video of artillery strikes by Ukraine's 40th Artillery Brigade on Russian positions. Some of the footage was in earlier videos. Okay, we've seen them then. All right, we don't need to see compilation videos of stuff we've seen already. Here's a video of a Skiff ATGM anti-tank guided missile strike on a Russian vehicle by Ukraine's first separate special purpose brigade. Stugna P video on a Russian vehicle. P's in the chat. Stugna P. There it goes. They got to keep that target on the... Stugna P video. Doesn't look clear if they hit it. It looked like it did at the end. They're trying to follow it through the trees. There it hits. It definitely hits the tank. It definitely hits the truck. Right there. Definitely hits it. Not sure if it's completely disabled or not. Here's video of a captured Russian Tiger vehicle that is now in Ukrainian service. Okay, my bad. Alright. That viral TikTok sound on a captured Tiger vehicle. Thank you, Lynette. $20 super chat, July 1st, 2022. Here's to your birthdays. My birthday's in 18 days. Video of damaged Russian T-72B3M tank. Again, damaged Russian tank.
Держи аккуратно, левее. Макс! Макс, подойди! С вами Бог, пидорасы, блядь. Уебали танчика пидорского, блядь.
Oh, the tracks are off.
Давай, бро, надо його обдивитися, блядь. Ой, красавчики, які ми, блядь. Ні, написано. На борту.
Alright, so that's a T-72B3M tank damaged. Here's a Russian Ministry of Defense video of Mi-35M helicopters being used in Ukraine.
По данным разведки нашли противника, цель площадная. Командир поставил задачу, мы ее уяснили. В течение определенного времени сразу пошли на вертолет, выполнили взлет. Пары отработали, цель под докладом пехоты была уничтожена, задача достигнута. Выполнили отворот на максимальной скорости, на минимальной высоте. Была атака сзади, и бортовой комплекс обороны успешно справился со своей задачей, отвел ракету, никто не пострадал. Все, что происходит в воздухе, начинаешь осмыслять только на земле. А когда работаешь, ты просто выполняешь свою боевую задачу. У всех военнослужащих работа опасная, мы к этому привыкли. Работаем, победа будет за нами.
So that is a Russian Ministry of Defense video with the interview with the Russian Ministry of Defense video interview with a Russian helicopter pilot. Video of 2 damaged Russian T-80BV tanks. At least one likely struck a mine. Looks like that's the one that hit the mine. We have 420 viewers in the chat on YouTube. 420 viewers, spark one up. .420 friendly stream. Edibles are now legal in Minnesota. Medical, smokable THC products only. These are destroyed Russian tanks in this video. Destroyed Russian T-80s. A Russian tank on fire in Kirsten reportedly as a result of the M777 fire. Okay. No audio. So these tanks were, these tanks were struck in the tree line by those M777 howitzers that Ukraine has got from the United States. You can see those tanks in the tree line. Here you got more helicopter video from Russia, Ministry of Defense, Ka-52 helicopters in Ukraine. Like literally like a movie trailer. Here, this is better. Meandering in Ukraine. Russian Ministry of Defense video of Nebo SV radar and Buk M3. Some more Russian videos here.
05.13. Наблюдаю цель азимут 182, дальность 67, скорость 154, высота 2010. 30-й, целеуказание принять. 30-й, супер, дальность 25. 30-й, цель уничтожить, расход 1.
Those are the big ones. And there's some more other counter surveillance electronic warfare trucks.
Азимут 182, дальность 62, высота 1800, скорость 150.
Я воздух, наблюдаю цель, азимут 150, высота 3800.
Oh. Fast as fuck, boy. Oh. Come. There's the man pads. What? So that was all clearly for the video at the end, because that was in the perfect position for him to grab it. Perfect position. It was just laying there. Just two random, like, intense military movement happenings for the video at the end. Fast as fuck, boy. To shoot at nothing. Do you hear any? No, that's all for the video. There's nothing to shoot at. It's raining. A Ukrainian Mi-24 helicopter.
Блядь, он возвращает. Какой наш? Это К2, ебать, что тут? Наш разве, ебать? Ебать.
Yeah, Ukrainian Mi-24 helicopter. He got video of incendiary munitions being used against Ukrainian positions in Sloviansk.
Woo! Салюты, ебать! Смотри, кино.
Это просто пизда. Видишь, сука, творится, ёбаный. Фу! Що, суки, роблять, нахуй?
Але красиво як, ёпти, блядь.
Новий рік, нахуй.
Those are literally like scorched earth munitions. Those munitions are literally meant to do nothing but cause massive fires. Ridiculous. Just cause massive fires and destroy. Video from June 27th from Ukraine's 10th Mountain Assault Brigade of strikes on Russian soldiers and equipment. Some of the footage was previously recorded. I don't need to see old video. Here you got Ukraine's 128th Mountain Assault Brigade of D-20 howitzers being used in action. compilation video. So just a compilation of artillery being used by the 128th Mountain Assault Brigade using their D-20 howitzers. Okay, that's a Ukraine video. Here you got video from Ukraine's 24th Mechanized Brigade of a UAV dropping a VOG grenade on a Russian. Yeah, I mean, he got back, he left and went into the wood line, but that definitely caused injury. That definitely caused injury there. Video of ATGM strike on a Russian tank by Ukraine's 24th Mechanized Brigade. Multiple Ukraine videos. Stugna P. No, the majority here are supportive of Ukraine's independence. We are supportive of Russians that aren't towing the Kremlin line and regular everyday Russians that see it for what it is. We're not anti-Russian, we're anti-Kremlin. Russian Ka-52 and Mi-24 helicopters in the Donbass. Oh, wow, well, damn it. Facebook, I swear to God. Is it going to start going down? I think Facebook just blocked my video for what? Music. But that music, that was copyrighted? Can you guys all see the video still on YouTube, on Facebook? Leave a comment. It said that the video was blocked, but I still see 32 people watching. Facebook doesn't make any sense. Why do I still stream there? I still see 32 people on. Just drop a comment. Can you guys still see the stream? Oh, now it says 30. Oh, wow. I don't know. You guys can see it on... You see. Okay, Elise can see. What is going on? I just got a notification saying the stream was blocked. Facebook told me that I lost my monetization, and yet I still have that. Okay, good. You guys can still see. Whatever. Okay. Video from DJI Mavic 3 UAV reportedly of M7. As long as you guys can still see, that's good. Of reportedly of M777 artillery strikes on a Russian headquarters, warehouse, and vehicles, including a K5 3949 Typhoon K. The helicopter copyright. We literally got a copyright strike on a video that had wind noises. Who was here for that? The wind had copyright. Ukraine put a video together and had whistling wind noises showcasing a bunch of Russian vehicles destroyed. Kind of funny. but the copyright lords didn't think it was funny, and they hit me with a copyright on that. Apparently you can copyright wind. Who knew? So again, what we're looking at here is M777 strikes on Russian positions, headquarters, equipment, vehicles. Yeah, it's still up on Facebook. I just got a big notification on my computer, though, saying that it was blocked, so whatever. Facebook doesn't even mean what they say anymore. Video of Ukrainian Baruvi multiple launch rocket system. A Baruvi. Better stop on the music now. That looks like the German howitzer system. That looks like the German one that we looked up from the other day. Germany sent 12 howitzer systems, some of their latest technology, some of their latest and greatest for howitzers. Here destroyed and captured Russian BMP-1AM Bosmernian. Oh. Facebook could use a safety meeting. I hope you guys all join us tonight on Snack Squad TV after this stream. Starting Metal Gear Solid, the very first one. We're playing Metal Gear franchise, all of the games, and we've hit Metal Gear Solid now. So if you played that one back in the year of our Lord 1998, it was on Pizza Hut demo discs. Who remembers that? I remember. But I'm starting that game tonight. Solid Snake's missions. Learn about nuclear deterrence. A lot of the dialogue and themes in that game are relevant to what's going on geopolitically right now in the world. Video of a skiff ATGM strike on Russian MTLB by Ukraine's first separate special purpose brigade. Oh. It's just hard to mute the music when it just goes to it that good. If you're hanging out in the stream on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, don't go anywhere after I'm done covering this war right now. Just hang out in the live chat and I'll redirect you right to the video if you're looking for it. Or just search Snack Squad TV on YouTube, you'll see it. I couldn't mute the Pink Panther music. So that's a strike on a Russian MTLB. You got video of multiple launch rocket system fire on a Russian column by Ukraine's 95th Air Assault Brigade. Lots of Ukrainian strike videos today. Lots of Ukrainian airstrike videos and howitzer videos. Thank you, Darlene, for those 100 stars. Thank you so much. Okay, so that's multiple launch rocket system fire on a Russian column. Here you got video of artillery strikes from Ukrainian paratroopers targeting Russian equipment. Like I said, lots of Ukrainian artillery videos today. The Eagles Rage says, yes, love Solid Snake. Yes, we just finished Big Boss's story. Well, it's not completely over, but we just finished the story of Big Boss, and now Solid Snake's tail takes over now at this point. Another video of artillery strikes on Russian positions with tanks and BMPs. So you got artillery strikes on Russian positions. Some more Ukrainian artillery. All right, continuing on. Video of Ukrainian artillery strikes on Russian vehicles. Oh wow. Oh wow. Russians using stolen cars likely, then they paint the Z on them. Yeah, those are disabled. Oh yeah. Pretty accurate artillery too on those cars. Here you got video from Ukraine's 93rd Mechanized Brigade, including improvised pickup truck multiple launch rocket system. Okay. I'm not sure if that audio is going to be copyrighted or not. Howitzer system being transported, training. This is training. Ukraine's 93rd. Lots of Ukraine videos today. So I'm saying that just because that one day you get a lot of videos from another side over the other doesn't mean that, you know, they're having massive successes. I still distinctively remember streaming last week in like damn near every single video, because it was when Russia was taking Severodonetsk, and most of the clips coming out were Russian videos, or like Russian perspective military videos, because that's what the day's videos were. And comments were, this is a pro-Russian channel, blah blah blah. And like, it changes every day. What you see today, we're seeing a lot of Ukrainian videos. Tomorrow it could be all Russian videos. It just depends on who's putting videos out for the day, who's had more successes, who's more confident in putting videos out. You know, there's operational security reasons why Ukraine can't post videos all the time. I remember early on in the war, right after an artillery shelling, you'd have a video right immediately with a geolocated marker. And that was helping Russia fire and adjust their artillery and pinpoint targets in case they missed. So Ukraine would be posting on social media, or just like news sources would immediately post a video clip, or, you know, they just wanted to report, like, look at what Russia's doing. They weren't trying to be nefarious with it. They weren't intentionally trying to give Russia locations. It's just things you don't think about when war is going on, and you crack down on operational security and things like that over time. So that's why you're not seeing videos like you were. Or for example, our channel, we were covering the CCTV live feeds in Ukraine. The majority of the early invasion of the war, we watched live from the live cameras that were in Ukraine. There's many cameras in Eastern Europe that just run a live feed, and I did not know that until this invasion started, and we were watching the cameras in the country. Video from Ukrainian Mi-8 helicopters launching rockets. They shut all those off damn near. All those live cameras they shut off pretty much, or they've been destroyed. So again, this is a Ukrainian Mi-8 helicopter. Oh yeah, we picked up the Russian comms and we were listening in on the Russian radio waves. Ukrainian Mi-8 helicopter. Oh, okay, wow. That's really loud. More Ukrainian helicopters. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Notification bell on for all live streams. All right, Ukrainian Mi-8 helicopters. Here's a damaged Russian T-72B3 tank. On fire. Smoking a little bit there.
Вон парни молодцы с Матадора. Вон Рэмбо, красавчик. Рэмбо, ты ебанул. Вот, хорошо. ТМ-ку наехал. Все, хлопцы. Сильно близко не подходите.
All right, damaged T-72 tank. Here you got a Russian Tiger vehicle that hit a mine.
И пизда нашему легендарному тигру. Ты ж могу... Да ну нахуй! Фу, блядь! Сейчас, подождите, еще... Все живы, отлично, блядь! Живы все!
Damn, it sounds like, so they're panting and you can hear they're tired out of breath. Sounds like they were just in the tree line and this just happened. And they're just all catching up to it.
Все живы, отлично, блядь! Живы все! Вот она что делает, блядь, капсула. Тигр.
Thank you so much, Lynette. Thank you. You should have the option, Lynette. Check in the bottom right. There should be a subscription option for you on Facebook again. So that's the Tiger M-Wrap. Here's a video we had seen yesterday if you missed it, but this is a Ukrainian sniper firing at Russian soldiers. And you can see their tactics and how they all run on one side or they all move on one side of the road. In the United States military, you'd be walking on both sides of the road with some spacing in between. So this doesn't happen. So you don't have a sniper that can just sit here and just sit on one fixed spot and take out your entire squad damn near because you're all stacked up and you're walking in a single file line. In the U.S. military, you'd be on both sides of this road here, staggered and spaced. So that way, if you do hear sniper fire, or if, God forbid, one of your buddies gets hit, then immediately you take cover, you get down, and then probably push into the bushes a little bit just to get a location. But you'd get down and make yourself small, and you'd be so spread out, the sniper couldn't take out all of your squad. You know, they're just walking like they're having a stroll in the park. Like they're on the block. That's what the drill sergeants would say. Walking around like you're on the block. Oh, so you're just going through a walk in the park, are you, Private? No, drill sergeant. No, it'd be like, oh, so you're just going through a casual walk in the park, Private. Sorry, Sergeant. Oh, I'm a sorry sergeant. That's what I am. I'm a sorry sergeant. Your day would be ruined. Rozgavirda troops in Popasna, Kirsten, and Borodyanka. You can't win. So here's the Russian Rozgavirda troops. Here you got servicemen with an AK-12 from a GRU Spetsnaz brigade in the Lysychansk area. Some visuals to give you a new idea of what the Russian military wears, some of their equipment, what they look like. There's the red armband, the red marker. Here you got the remains of the Saratov Project 1171 large landing ship in Berdyansk that was destroyed by a Toka-U strike on March 24th. That's the Saratov ship back in Berdyansk. Here's a Russian Mi-28 helicopter firing rockets. All right. What do we got here? You got video of a Russian TOS-1 Alpha thermobaric multiple launch rocket strikes on Ukrainian positions in the Lysychansk area. So to the west of Severodonetsk in the east. So to the Okay, and then you got, according to the Ukrainian military, 2 Russian Su-30M fighters dropped incendiary and phosphorus bombs on Snake Island at 6 p.m. Not great accuracy. So the Russians that said that they left Snake Island for goodwill, striking it again. Two of them missed into the water. They hit one target. So much for the act of goodwill. Huh? So much for that act of goodwill. We'll hit the Ukraine War Video Report tomorrow and go through any of the videos that we missed today. We're at 2.5 hours. We do have a stream after this, though. If you guys want to talk about the war in Ukraine or just enjoy a video game stream that, again, the conversation and the topic is very relevant to what is going on in the world today, I'm streaming Metal Gear Solid. All right, Metal Gear Solid, it's a classic. If you guys want to tune in tonight on our gaming channel, Snack Squad TV. All right. Original PlayStation game came out in 1998, and then continuing on Metal Gear Solid 2, and then it'll be Metal Gear Solid 4 if you know what I'm talking about. Just keep, like I kept my word, I'm gonna gift 20 more members every month. I'll gift 20. I'll gift 20 members on the first Friday of the month. I'll gift 20 members to the viewers. So here goes 20 more. I don't know who's gonna get it. But here we go. To 20 randoms in my chat, you're now going to become members. All right, and I'm going to read off one more time what's going on in the map of Ukraine and give you guys a key takeaways before we go. So, key takeaways. Russian forces continued efforts to encircle Lysychansk and conducted offensive operations to the south and to the southwest of the city. Russian forces have likely not yet reached the T-1302 Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway on the ground, but are denying Ukrainian forces use of it by continuing artillery and airstrikes against remaining Ukrainian positions along the road. Russian forces focused on regrouping and improving their tactical positions north of Sloviansk. Russian forces did not conduct any confirmed ground assaults in northern Kharkiv Oblast and continued shelling Ukrainian positions north of Kharkiv city. Russian forces conducted artillery and missile strikes along the southern axes. Russian authorities continue efforts to expand the pool of recruits available to fight within Ukraine. And that is your update for Ukraine, the Russian invasion, Ukrainian war on the 1st of July, 2022. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Hope you guys were informed, learned something new today within the war of Ukraine. If this was your first stream, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you want more from me, if you want more content from our if you just want more content, just go subscribe to the Snack Squad TV YouTube channel for gaming, softball streams. We got a pretty damn good softball team that represent the Snack Squad, and a lot of our viewers from the Mercado Media also tune in there. And also just vloggy type content. I'll be at the State Fair sampling the State Fair food, the edibles I got to try in Minnesota, and just report on that. So just less current events and less polarizing content on the Snack Squad TV YouTube channel. All right. So go over there. If not, just hang out in this chat, and I will redirect you guys to that stream on Snack Squad TV. Again, we're playing Metal Gear Solid tonight. So hope you guys will join us there. Have a wonderful night, everybody. I'll be live again tomorrow night, likely. If not, I'll put a tweet out. We'll see. Right now, I plan to cover the war tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central, but if anything changes, I'll put a tweet out there. So go follow me on Twitter if you haven't done so. The link is in the description of the video. Thank you guys again. Have a wonderful night. See you guys on the next one. Take care.